many happier returns, managing a variety of robots successfully, and autonomous fulfillment advances. Pull up a chair and join us as the editors of DC Velocity discuss these stories, as well as news and supply chain trends on this week's Logistics Matters podcast. Hi, I'm Dave Maloney. I'm the Group Editorial Director at DC Velocity. Welcome. Logistics Matters is sponsored by Werner. In cross-border shipping, experience is everything. With more than 25 years of trusted expertise in Mexico, Werner moves your freight seamlessly across the border. Their bilingual teams handle the customs and compliance, so you don't have to. Get the reliability your supply chain deserves. Become a customer today at choosewerner.com. As usual, our DC Velocity senior editors Ben Ames and Victoria Kickham will be along to provide their insights into the top stories of this week. But to begin today, as any retailer can tell you, returns can be the most difficult part of their work. Each return has to be evaluated to decide what to do with it. But what if there's a better idea for handling returns? This is where Liquid Donate comes in. I spoke recently with Disney Petit, the CEO of this award-winning organization, about how they help retailers and others in dealing with returns in ways that benefit a lot of people. Here's our conversation. Welcome, Disney. It's good to have you with us today on Logistics Matters.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me, David.
Returns can be messy, and retailers just don't really like dealing with them. So how extensive really is the problem retailers currently face with customer returns?
Well, for anyone who's listening who works in warehousing, distribution, or reverse logistics, this problem is a problem that shows up every day. Returns have quickly but quietly become one of retail's largest operational and cost challenges. And in e-commerce, about 20 to 30% of products are returned, and categories like apparel are often even higher. These figures are coming from the National Retail Federation's annual retail returns research that they do every year. The issue isn't just the volume, though. It's also the reverse logistics that wasn't built for this scale. Most of the DCs are designed for forward velocity, not for grading, sorting, repackaging, or redistributing millions of potentially low-value items. These operations teams are constantly forced to choose between clogging their DCs with this flow or disposing of product to keep the throughput moving on the returns piece. And it's just been really difficult for retailers to keep up with the volume, especially as e-commerce continues to grow.
We know that returns come back in all shapes and sizes. Some are in the box, some are original packaging, some have never been opened, but a lot of it is damaged or returned for a lot of different reasons. So how much of it is really available to put back into sellable inventory?
It really depends on the product. So a product is considered resellable if it makes sense for that retailer to resell the product in the condition that it comes back. And when it costs between $15 to $35 to process a single return, once you factor in things like freight, labor, space, and handling, it just doesn't make a lot of sense for some of these products to be resold. In those cases, the only appropriate paths right now are really disposal, so landfill or incineration. Sometimes they call that recycling. But what's really happening is that we're just filling landfills with these physical goods. If you think about what it takes to repackage something or retag a shirt, and it was a low price, low volume item, then it doesn't make sense to resell it. So I think it surprises most people that up to 70 or 80% of these unsellable returns are actually ending up in landfills.
That is a very high number, and that's where your organization comes in as Liquid Donate. So can you explain what you do as an organization and what prompted you to start Liquid Donate?
Yeah, well, Liquid Donate is really personal for me. Before founding Liquid Donate, I spent 10 years as the 15th employee at Postmates dealing with last mile delivery logistics as we know it today. And while I was there, I built a number of different products, and one of them was called Food Fight that matched all the excess food from the restaurants we worked with shelters in 700 cities across the US. And from matching food, which is one of the most difficult items to match and move in a timely manner, I realized that there was an even bigger need for the retail space. Retail returns, excess inventory, overstock, misprints, all of these items were ending up in the landfill when I knew that there was a lot of nonprofits and other organizations out there who would be able to repurpose and reuse these goods for the same or a similar use case to what they were originally intended for without cannibalizing a potential full price customer in the way that a lot of resale platforms do. And so once we were acquired by Uber, I decided to leave to start Liquidonate because at that point we'd done a lot of work on the food recovery space. And so I thought, why not take the technology into the retail space and help solve this returns crisis as I see it?
You had talked a little bit about some of the other ways that returns are handled. Sometimes they're sold off to in lot sales and then sold either online or through a store that uses discount merchandise. And that again undercuts retailers' sales of full price merchandise. Others are maybe sold in other various ways or disposed of. Can you talk about some of the ways that returns are handled now that really aren't efficient?
The way that returns are handled now is completely inefficient. Um, Whether you go online to make a return or go in store, there's a number of problems that come up for the retailer once you really start digging into the system. If you think about an in-store return, if you have a customer that you already paid all this money to acquire, they have a physical good in their hand and they're coming in to return the product during especially like a busy season or a busy weekend, a busy time at the store, the goal is to process the return as quickly and efficiently as possible, not necessarily taking the time to find out why this item is being returned. Is there something else you could recommend to that customer? It's about it's a speed processing on the return. And for an online return, there's even less information and even additional cost. So exchanges is something that I've seen a lot of retailers leaning into more, is saying, hey, like maybe we could actually just exchange this product for you. But even when you're doing that online, once again, additional cost. You're paying for a shipping label for that product to go back to a warehouse that's hundreds or thousands of miles away from the original consumer. And you're also now paying for another product to ship from a warehouse out to that consumer. And a lot of times with free returns and free shipping, which the behemoths of the retail world have really set as the standard for all retailers now, you're seeing their costs just balloon on a return when in reality, there's a lot of opportunity there to make the return a more seamless, streamlined, and efficient process by using a service like Liquidonate or even one of those other types of platforms that you mentioned.
So, can you describe how your solution actually works as an alternative to disposing of returns by putting them into landfills?
Absolutely. So with Liquidonate, what we've built is a software platform that enables retailers to donate all of their excess and unsellable inventory, including returns, to nonprofits and schools instead of having it travel that hundred or thousands of miles back to a warehouse when the product is considered unsellable. Since a return costs a retailer between $15 and $35 on average, if the product isn't even worth that much, then it doesn't make sense for the retailer to take it back, especially if the retailer is able to set parameters like they can with our system, like anything that was in clearance, they don't want to see back, or maybe anything that was under $15, they don't want to see back at the warehouse, or maybe just the tag was removed. All of those reasons can be implemented into our software so that instead of producing a shipping label that goes all the way back to a warehouse where it's just going to be disposed of, instead, our software is able to instantly produce a shipping label for a nonprofit within about 30 miles of that customer's home, anywhere in the US or Canada, for a nonprofit that actually wants that item. We're exclusively a non-resale platform. So these nonprofits that are receiving it are using the product for direct service. And then on the back end, we completely automate the tax receipt process as well, bringing that into the 21st century for these retailers' accounting teams to not have to chase down paper receipts all the time. With our software, on average, we're bringing down the cost of the shipping labels by 60%, and we're reducing the transit distance by up to 90%. So some real environmental and cost savings coming along for the retailers that are using our service.
So, if I understand you correctly, the consumer then, after they're looking to make a return, they would go to their vendor, and instead of being directed to send the product back to the vendor, they would be redirected to send it to the nonprofit with a label that you would supply that they can print out.
Exactly. Exactly, and the customer wouldn't have any idea that there was a different process happening. That was something that we knew was really important for retailers was it had to be the same or easier for the consumer to do the thing that they wanted to do. And so we made sure that was part of the implementation process.
Is the consumer aware that they're sending it to a nonprofit instead?
Nope, not necessarily. The retailer can choose to white label the software, or they can choose to have unicorns and confetti fly across the screen for your donation. It's really up to the retailer to decide if they're going to use this as a marketing tactic or not.
Right. So for some, it would be a marketing tactic or a good benefit.
Absolutely.
What are some of the other benefits for both retailers and consumers?
Well, I mean, just thinking about the marketing aspect, we all know that Gen Z and some younger consumers really care a lot about this. And so being able to say like, hey, your product is being donated, maybe you pack it with a little extra care for the nonprofit or send it a little bit more expeditiously than you would otherwise. So there's a few benefits there on the feel good aspect. But then outside of just the feel good aspect, of course, we're doing some significant landfill diversion. In the last 4 years, we've diverted over 12 million items that otherwise would have ended up in the trash. And then, of course, the cost savings. The retailers care a lot about cost savings, saving money on the shipping label, saving money on the transit distance. And then retailers are even able to change the amount of things like carbon offsets they have to buy on an annual basis because they're reducing the transit distance so much by using our product.
And the retailers also credited as making a donation for tax purposes.
Yes, absolutely. I always forget about that one, even though it's so obvious. The tax receipt piece of what we do is makes accounting teams our best friends.
And Disney, you were also recognized by Time Magazine for your work. Can you tell us about that honor?
Yeah, well, being named one of Time's best inventions was incredibly validating, not just personally, but for the operators that we work with. It confirmed that Liquid Donate isn't a feel good idea, but rather a logistics infrastructure that the industry has been missing. And it helped move the conversation from this is something that's nice to have to something that this is necessary to have.
This sounds like a great idea for both retailers and consumers, and of course, the nonprofits that benefit from it. So, how can retailers and nonprofits find out more about the Returns Direct solution?
So retailers on Shopify can install our app and they can start rerouting their eligible returns within the same day that they install the app. For enterprise retailers, we typically run 30-day pilots that integrate into our existing returns, their OMS, their ERP, or their warehouse workflow without disrupting their operations. And nonprofits are vetted so that they only receive what they can actually use, which keeps the system efficient on an end-to-end basis, and they can sign up on our website as well.
And that website is
Liquiddonate.com.
liquiddonate.com. We've been talking to Disney Petit. She's the founder and CEO of Liquid Donate. Again, Disney, thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, it was my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Now let's take a look at some of the other supply chain news from the week. Ben, you, Victoria, and I just returned from the MODEX conference this week in Atlanta, where we saw all sorts of material handling systems and automation that will probably be coming to a warehouse nearby soon. And one of the things that you wrote about from the conference is how all kinds of different automation and robotics are now being more easily coordinated to work together on facility floors.
That's exactly right. And we walked a lot of miles through the aisles at MODEX there to get up to speed on that stuff. So it's neat to see what some of the new tools may be. And this one, as we're saying, has to do with making it all the different pieces work together. If you walk into any distribution center, you'll see products from several different vendors running at the same time on a single warehouse floor, not to mention all the different brands of software that's controlling them you can't even see. So as we're in this age right now of really an explosion of new technology and logistics, there can be a clash of cultures if you don't do it right. To get it all to work together, many people call that orchestration, but there's more than one way to do it. One that I saw this week was a software approach that runs in the background of all the different automated devices. And it unites all those different threads of data so they can braid into a single purpose and direction. Different examples are SVT Robotics, Infios, and Robotion. I talked with all of them, and in the words of Robotion, they can help adopt multiple technologies and robots from various vendors so they can cooperate as a team to do whatever task it is, like picking, put away, inventory counting, conveying, whatever is needed in the warehouse.
Well, that sounds like a pretty smooth workflow. Of course, there were more than 1,000 exhibitors at MODEX. So, what other approaches did you see there at the show?
Yeah, so sticking with the concept of orchestration, this is specifically not sort of comparing apples to oranges on this strategy, but increasingly we see combinations of systems, again, that use specialty services from a number of different providers. If you talk to FANUC, they're known for their robotic arms. The arms themselves are incredibly adept at making precise movements, but to make them work for warehouse and logistics tasks, they need to work with other specialists on the hardware. So they do that from an approach of sort of collecting different specialty parts, starting with that robotic arm. You also need, of course, a gripper at the end that has vacuum fingers or a rubber contact piece, or sometimes physical fingers almost, to pick up eaches. There's also digital camera that enables machine vision, so the arm can sort of see what it's grabbing. And there's often artificial intelligence that controls how it thinks about picking up the item in the right kind of way. So, that's sort of a way of pulling different hardware together compared to the previous way, which is having a sort of software, universal software platform. So either way, we're seeing technology providers and like logistics practitioners both working toward that same goal, making all the different parts work together.
Right. Lots of innovation. And that kind of teamwork's always better and allows companies to pick the best types of equipment for their needs without worrying so much about integrating them to be productive and meet their needs.
Yeah, you could spend a lot of time and money on integration for sure.
Thank you, Ben.
Glad to.
And Victoria, you also experienced some interesting technologies at MODEX in Atlanta this week. What were some of the highlights for you?
Yeah, that's right. So many things caught my eye at MODEX this week, but since we have to keep it pithy, I just chose a couple of things that stood out. The first was the launch of an autonomous warehouse fulfillment system from Locus Robotics. The company debuted its Locus Array system, which is an autonomous in-aisle picking solution that combines mobile robotics, an integrated robotic picking arm, like Ben was just talking about, and AI-powered perception, so it can complete picking and fulfillment tasks without manual intervention. And it can do this in very narrow aisles, so it's a high-density solution as well. I also talked with robotics company Boston Dynamics about the long-term potential of humanoid robots in the warehouse, which really piques my interest.
Yeah, and they both sound interesting. Can you tell us a bit more?
Absolutely. Let's start with Array. So Locus Array, it's a tower-style robot, or AMR, that moves autonomously through warehouse aisles using that integrated robotic picking arm to pick and place items that are stored in traditional warehouse racking. So it kind of reaches over and picks from a storage rack and then places the items in an order container on the robot, just like a human would. It's powered by Locus One, which is their AI-driven orchestration platform, and it joins the company's fleet of other fulfillment robots. That includes Locus Origin, which is a collaborative robot that's been around for a while, and Vector, which is a heavy-duty AMR that transports carts and shelves of products through the warehouse. Our listeners are probably familiar with those types of solutions. So the new one, Array, handles more than picking, though. It also does put away, induction, drop-off, slotting, and replenishment, and all in one system. And Locus says it can reduce manual labor in a facility by 90%. Now, about those humanoids. So Boston Dynamics had a model of its humanoid called Atlas on display at the show. And this was in addition to its larger demonstration of existing warehouse solutions, including its truck unloading robot called Stretch. That's always a big draw. But Atlas was a display, just a model, not a demo. So there wasn't much to see beyond what it looks like. But I asked the folks at the company about what we can expect to see from Atlas in the near future. Right now, they're testing it in automotive manufacturing applications, primarily through a partnership with the automaker Hyundai, but they plan to expand that to other uses, including the warehouse, over the next couple of years. It's hard to say when we may see widespread adoption of humanoids in warehousing, but Boston Dynamics is planning for mass production of Atlas by 2030, so we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if humanoids catch on to help fill those labor gaps and do especially some of the kinds of monotonous and heavy lifting jobs that human coworkers don't want to do anymore.
Yeah, that's right. There are some obstacles to overcome, but they're working on it, as are a lot of other robotics companies.
Yeah, I think it eventually will happen.
We'll see.
Thank you, Victoria.
You're welcome.
We encourage listeners to go to dcvelocity.com for more on these and other supply chain stories. Also, check out the podcast notes section for some direct links to read more about the topics that we discussed today. And we'd like to thank Disney Petit of Liquid Donate for being our guest. We welcome your comments on this topic and our other stories. You can email us at podcast@agilebme.com. We also encourage you to subscribe to Logistics Matters at your favorite podcast platform. Our new episodes are uploaded on Fridays. And a reminder, Logistics Matters is sponsored by Werner. In cross-border shipping, experience is everything. With more than 25 years of trusted expertise in Mexico, Werner moves your freight seamlessly across the border. Their bilingual teams handle the customs and compliance, so you don't have to. Get the reliability your supply chain deserves. Become a customer today at choosewerner.com. We'll be back again next week with another edition of Logistics Matters. Be sure to join us. Until then, have a great week.